pretending. Get real. And there you'll find, not power, you'll find reality that opens the windows of perception to the greater universe. I ask you again, who are you? I'll tell you who I am. I'm on Team Humanity. I know my life is incredibly short, and I look at the literature, the art, the architecture, the love, the passion. I look at the innocence of my children, other people's children, and I have a deep desire to defend humanity. I have a deep desire for wholesomeness. I have a deep desire to be honorable and to be strong. I have a deep desire to uplift the species, to uplift beauty and innocence and everything wholesome. And I have a deep dislike for ugliness. You know, they say in exorcisms, whether you believe in that or not, that the demons are in the people's minds, speaking horrible things to them constantly until they finally take them over. And then I watch television and the culture and the dedication to sickness and ugliness, and the children's cartoons now are hyper sped up and even cause convulsions and make no sense and are confusing to rewire their brains, and then the studies come out and it is rewiring their brains. It is just a savage, hateful death letter to humanity, and I'm writing a love letter to humanity, and I'm saying, shake it off, folks. Shake off the mind control. You got to get mad first to do that. I'm telling you, anger is a gift. Who said that? One of the people from Rage Against the Machine? Yes, their anger hasn't led them to understand socialism is another tool of the globalists, but whatever, the statement is true. But after the anger comes the focus. The question is, can you handle the focus? Well, you better. I'm the first to love distraction and diversion, but it doesn't fulfill. It's hollow. It's like cotton candy. It's good while you're eating it, but doesn't sit well in your stomach and gives you a headache an hour later. Whereas grandma's good old cooking didn't do that, did it? It was satisfying in your stomach, and you were full all day from that Sunday lunch. That's the difference. The New World Order's poison, cotton, GMO candy, or what's natural here on God's green earth. And that's the paradox, is that the very people, the greatest crime of the fake environmentalist Al Gore crew is that it's all a movement to make mankind feel guilty so that the television and the culture controllers can play the part of gods and direct us and tax us and suck off of us. That's the great crime. And then actually wreck the planet in the process, diverting everyone from the invasive species. What do you think a GMO virus or bacteria is? A bacteria is living. Viruses are really nature's nanotech, but I think viruses are living. There's a long scientific debate about that, but they're living. They replicate. They operate as parasites within more complex life forms. They're alive, but they're like antimatter of life. But they also give life. Nothing man has invented is new. It's only squat, ugly, copycat, counterfeit frauds of the galactic system of life. When we come back, Prison Agenda 21, the environmentalist cult launches new phases of complete takeover. National parks to be shuttered against invasive humans. Spy satellites in action. Think of how far humanity has come. Think of what our ancestors went through against the bare elements. Bare-knuckle battles with the big cave bears and the lions and the elements and the famines and the disease, everything that brought us to this point as humanity. And we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors of every race, color, and creed. And I ask you now, are we really going to let a bunch of mad scientists? I mean, look at the psychology of the globalist. Think about it. They routinely make 40-to-1 bets with other people's money, lose it and don't get in trouble, a.k.a. MF Global, John Corzine. The elite British royalty funded 5 British families, the Galtons, the Wedgwoods, the Darwins, the Huxleys, and one other, to interbreed. They thought it would create a Superman that lived hundreds of years and was a genius. It created mentally retarded children, stillborn deaths, and a few highly intelligent, adult, semi-weirdo creatures. And by that, smart, but a lot of quirks and problems that wasn't even greater than the original intelligence of the scientific families seen as the smartest in the UK. I mean, they're going off of a 160-year plan, conservatively over 160 years old since they launched it. The whole world is based on it. The whole world system is based on this. And it's an old idea that goes back to Plato and the Greeks of eugenics, picked up 160 years ago as social Darwinism, survival of the fittest, and it just isn't operating in reality. And the whole system's based on it, and almost no one understands this. My one victory I can really feel good about is finally a core of people and news websites and talk show hosts, and of course none of them giving us any credit, and I could care less. That's even better in a way. I actually like that. That way they can't kill me or destroy me politically or say that I, murder Easter bunnies or something and then attack the idea. So actually it's a good thing. And say all this eugenic stuff is discredited because Alex was caught, again, murdering Easter bunnies or leprechauns or whatever it is they make up. Whatever fantasy, unicorns. I'm chopping unicorn horns off and living in a subterranean vault. The point is that the idea is now out there. The reality's out there. The enemy is more and more being engaged. Because there's a real core, and I call a core, I don't know, millions of people now, that really get it. And you've got to get this message out to people. Because they won't get it right away. That, okay, this is more and more of an artificial habitat we've been put in. They're taking out more and more of the natural areas of our habitat, blocking us off, limits to those. Guys, pull up the Dr. Michael Kaufman UN map here in a few minutes. I wanted to get that pulled up before the 20 break. And I want to pull up the Dr. Michael Kaufman map, the UN Agenda 21 map, to show people the congressional map on that when I get into this news. They are phasing out our connections to the land, our connections to reality, our connections to family, because it's an artificial system in their own words. Brave New World. In fact, I want to buy that in bulk and sell it and put maybe a little pamphlet in with it with the words of Aldous Huxley. Tell Tim I want to buy that in bulk. And then I'm going to write like a one-page pamphlet so that people can give it to friends and family with quotes, a little double-fold deal of Huxley at Berkeley and other places saying, and in Brave New World Revisited, that this is not fiction that he wrote in 1932. He wrote it in 31, published in 32, where there's a global government and they shrink humans down to be more manageable and have a suboid drone class and then classes above that, and now that's being proposed in mainstream news, cutting food off, genetically engineering babies before they go in the womb to be smaller for the earth. And you're like, that sounds crazy. The point is these people are crazy. And Huxley said, this is our real plan. My brother heads up UNESCO. He said this in the 50s. Julian Huxley. And it's just all there. You read a book written in 31 that these people envisioned, and now it's beginning to come true. And then we've got him telling you, well, I wrote this as fiction because we wanted to put out to the public what we were going to do to you. And by the year 2000 or so, much of the foundation for this will be in place. And they're already engineering us with nanotech in the food and water. That's admitted. They're already engineering us with thousands of variant crops, on record that just wreak havoc in every mammal you feed them to. Within 3 generations, near complete sterility, hair growing out of rats' mouths, genitals on the top of their head, or shrunken intestines, mutations. Just unbelievable. We're at least 30 years into the first phases of them testing us. That's a generation and a half. You're like, a generation, that's 74 years. Generation recycled. I'm talking about when they have youth, on average around 20. So we're 30 years or so into that. That's a generation and a half. Till you see the massive mutations, the brain damage, the autism from 1 in 25,300 to 1 in the 50s or 60s, depending on which number you look at. Just massive, just all of it. It's here. It's here. It's here. We're a generation and a half, and it's following the exact graph of all the other mammals. Pigs, goats, guinea pigs, rabbits, lab rats, lab mice, all the same, all the same, all the same. Terminal, 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 red alert, emergency mayday globally. Psychopaths, inbred psychopaths who develop their plans under syphilitic mind rot in the 1860s are in control. Emergency, 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 emergency. Do you understand? This is an emergency. This is an emergency. We've got to get these people out of there now. We've got to start reversing this now. They've had control of the West through social engineering and chemical attacks for 100 years or more. Hitler just moved a little too fast for him and went after 1 or 2 groups. The globalists didn't like that. They're going after everybody. And now for more than 3 decades, they've been hitting us with the bio attack through the food. They've been hitting us for 60 years through the chemical attack in the water. They're hitting us electromagnetically. They're hitting us and hitting us hard. And their hate of humanity is so great, they've accepted blowback on themselves. They take mitigating factors. They've got some reversal systems, some treatments. They've got clean water, non-GMO food. But they're still hit by the electromagnetic and all the rest of it. That's why globalists, most of them have moved to remote areas and are now telecommuting. You can look into that trend. The elite are dug in high mountain areas, staying far away from what they're doing to us. This is a black commitment to Hades and everything wicked. Let me just give the number out. I said I would. 800-259-9231. First-time callers. We have millions and millions of listeners. I want to give people every day a new chance to call in and give people their chance. 800-259-9231. If you want to speak about this, I mean, I'll get more into this after we take calls, but FDA targets nanoparticles in food, appliances over health risk, and it goes on. This is direct links to the U.S. government admitting it and the Project on Emerging Nanotechnologies. And it goes on to show brain damage in fish and in mammals that it's been tested on. There's over 1,300 manufacturers of everyday products, food, you name it, filled. This is a prisonplanet.com, Infowars.com, article by Mike Barrett. Very good job. And I didn't even know about this. I knew there was some nanotech, but I didn't know for a decade it had proliferated across the board and crosses blood-brain barrier. It's, oh my God. Neurological disorders are just skyrocketing. These people are killing everybody. And they know exactly what they're doing. The black devil in hell and God in heaven are the only ones that know exactly how bad it is. Continuing here, scientists call for global ban on bee-killing pesticides. Really going to ban the ones that are in the GMO? That's what's really killing them. They go get that pollen and it kills them. Yeah, the plants grow pesticides so bugs won't eat it, and then they feed it to us. Did you hear that message? Did you get that transmit? Did you hear how hardcore that little statement is? Hiding in plain view. And then I got hit by this little jewel. New big Big Brother satellite to hunt down carbon criminals. This story's 8 years old, but now it's back in the news. The Geospatial Administration, NASA, NSA, all of them, it turned out were giving local enviro cops and local police access to the super high-tech satellites that in the 60s could zoom in and read the date on a penny. Can you imagine what they can do now in 2012? 8, 9 years ago, it was in the Denver Post that they were going after people that built barns on their property when they get told you can't now for the earth. You can plant some GMO that'll kill everybody, but don't build a barn. Can't build a GM vehicle here either. They're going to build Cadillacs in China now. Did I mention that? Won't be any rules over there. That's because the globalists have got their investments over there. You like how that works? Shut us down, put all the power over there. China's adopted eugenics. They're in the catbird seat. They don't need any TSA reaching down their pants. Their government's feeding them GMO and reaching into their DNA. Continuing here. Labeled CarbonSat, the satellite system will have the ability to differentiate between natural carbon emissions and man-made CO2 releases. And they're announcing they're banning outdoor fireplaces, indoor fireplaces, space heaters. This will identify it. It can even identify humans exhaling. The European Space Agency has set to greenlight the new surveillance satellite. It's not just use the old ones, it's new ones that will measure man-made carbon emissions from space in order to hunt down, that's their quote, violators of international climate agreements, allowing Big Brother to enforce future tax on CO2 emissions. The Austrian press release announcing the project makes no mention of the fact that the satellite will be used to perform surveillance on individuals and businesses to keep tabs on their carbon footprint, instead presenting its role as merely measuring carbon emissions. Now, let me give you the big super enchilada article right now. Guys, do we have the map to show TV viewers? If not, just type in UN Agenda 21 off-limits maps or congressional map on biodiversity or Dr. Michael Kaufman with a C, and you'll get the congressional maps. Simulated reserve corridor system to protect biodiversity. He just took the maps that they had in the mid-90s and integrated them, and he had them on a region-by-region base. He just integrated them together. And he is an environmentalist and biologist and all that stuff, so he was able to integrate it for Congress. And I noticed the area they've grabbed just south of Austin as a UN reserve, years after, by the way, he did this map, is exactly what they did grab. I mean, it is dead on. And they've got the UN signs there now. They've got the UN Baby Blue affiliate group. So this is what's going on at the national parks and buffer zones. This is now happening. There it is. Around half the country completely off limits. In the West, over 85% of the land is owned by the feds. They're now blocking it, tearing up the roads, blocking the dirt roads, not letting people go in and run their cattle on it. It's over. 80+% of the western U.S. off limits. It's as high as 60% in some areas of the East and Midwest. Texas has the most private land in the country. The feds are here like locusts. Now, let me continue here. This is from Human Events. And, of course, she did a good job, Audrey Hudson. But Audrey, I know you'll end up getting sent video of this, so let me just tell you something. Let me give you the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. They're announcing all over the U.S. they're shutting down completely to human access or to partial human access the national parks. This is about, they already have this all over Austin. They've taken parks that I went to as a child. They got fences up around them saying environmentally sensitive area. It's called an exercise of power. Headline should be, the beginning of closure of national parks begins under Agenda 21 UN treaty. As Hillary said, she is for total individual firearms ban, civilian ownership ban, UNIDIR, UN treaty agreement, July 7th, 2000. They agreed to ban all firearms in civilian hands. Go read it. They said the civilian ownership of firearms threatens the legitimate power monopoly of the state. July 7th, 2000. United Nations building on Rockefeller land, New York City, Eastern Seaboard, North America. under FEMA Region 1 dictatorship. Isn't New York a FEMA Region 1? Please check my memory. Thank you. Planning a vacation this summer to Miami's Biscayne Bay for a little fishing? Think again, because the National Park Service wants to set aside a large swath of the pristine area as a marine reserve zone. So you might want to leave the fishing poles at home and the boat. But that's okay. Sounds like it's reasonable, right? Fishing it. Oh, wait. Perhaps horseback riding is more your speed. Nope, that's banned. And the family plans to ride through California Sequoia or King Canyon National Park? Sorry. But all the permits were pulled for those activities. And soon you won't drive a car into any of them. They're already getting it ready at the Grand Canyon with big, giant parking lots that actually are a lot less sustainable to make you go on the buses with audio droning, henpecking you about how bad humans are. Think you want to go eat? They give coloring books to your kids telling them, go get your, present this coupon and get a free badge. And when they show up to get the free badge, I went and looked, they try to sell them like a $100 uniform and have more stuff about tell your parents what to do, turn the lights off, don't let them take hot baths, your parents are bad. I mean, this is, go to a national park. This is actually going on. FEMA Region 2, thank you, New York. New York by itself is FEMA Region 2. That's right, I forgot. What's FEMA Region 1? Maine and all that? Is my memory failing? New England, yes, okay. Anyways, and they go on to announce all over the country, and of course, it's even worse. They're not even allowing, this is the feds, people into many of these. I remember they took that land right across from the Golden Gate Bridge and said it would be an environmental preserve and kicked the people off their homes in the 60s and 70s. And there's been big articles in the San Francisco Chronicle how they then partially shut it down to humans, then put cameras in and then fully shut it down. And then it turns out the state people that are in it own the private homes themselves and have luxury parties in thousands of acres they stole. That's how it's feudalism. It's Agenda 21. In your face in the Hunger Games. And I've since learned, it looks like the author is a good lady and is actually aware of it, wanted to show people the tyranny she thinks coming. So we did confirm she knows what she's talking about. Your call's coming up.